Hi, friend. I'm not really live streaming. This is an illusion, but I get it's easy to be fooled by, I guess what you call a convincing illusion. It's a pretty convincing illusion because I use the most high tech drone carried holographic projectors to create this illusion for you. It may appear to you like there's a green screen behind me. There's no green screen. That, what appears to be a green screen, is actually simply projected on a green screen. So, it's not even projected. It's just digitally inserted, you could say. That's not a real green screen. You think I can afford a real green screen? I was saying I'm going to green screen that. No, Rachel did not buy a pair of Jimmy Choo's. I was just thinking to myself as a live stream title, what's a good live stream title? And naturally, I wondered, what would you get if you crossed Bootsie Collins, Rachel Ray, and Jimmy Choo? You'd get a lover who can both play the bass like a champion and cook you a wonderful dinner while concurrently designing you shoes. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I won't have until Sunday. Okay, cool, fine. You just tell me the time. I have. Don't make it in the like 10 in the morning. I have something scheduled then. Don't make it 10 to noon. I have something scheduled then. Now, look. People are often surprised. They don't scream Jimmy Choo, but these are actually Jimmy Choo design flip flops. They cost $40,000, and they're so much more attractive than regular flip flops. Why do you think Aang is SE Polar? Well, I mean, how much struggle does he have coming to a conclusion about what he's going to do once he decides to go do something? And then he doesn't even do it. He doesn't even do the thing he concludes he's going to do. In other words, ISFP would just go ahead and kill the guy, right? All right, fuck it, let's just kill him. That's what ISFP would be like. 4 p.m. Let me check my calendar to make sure. Sunday at 4. Let's see, I just finished that one, 7 to 9. Tomorrow I've got 10 to 1. Sunday, 4 o'clock. I'll put it 4 to 6 just to make sure there's plenty of time allotted for it. I'll put it on my calendar. Once it's on my calendar, nothing else can displace it. Debate. Now, I understand this is tentative, so I'm going to put tenta next to it. But if I don't hear otherwise that no, that's not the time, then we'll just proceed forward as though that is the time, and I'll follow up with my email looking for further instructions. So anyway, this is not a real live stream. And if you think it's a real live stream, you're being fooled by the complicated and sophisticated illusion that I'm weaving. He's obviously not ISFP. Oh, ENFP. Yeah, he could be ENFP. That's possible. I thought you were saying he's ISFP. Look. email anthrax, it does sound healthy. And it's also true that sometimes sounds can be deceiving, but this is not one of those times. Sounds healthy because it is healthy. It's healthy as a fresh spring breeze. Okay, good point. Octavia Silva to some extent. However, I would also say that, like, for me, my polar. Fucking goddamn it! I'm gonna use my inhaler. Like my FI comes out. I guess it's not really FI. I'm not sure what it is, but boy, I just waterworks from watching these movies. Spider-Man: Far Away from Home, spectacular, so good, such a good movie, so effective in its emotional parts. It made me want to reflect while I was watching it on basically like how they do that, like, hi, Missy Ann Davenport. You love Jake Gyllenhaal in that movie? Who's Jake Gyllenhaal? Which character did he play? Is he Mysterio? He was great. Well, I think that Mysterio is a great villain, Great villain. Why do you say I'm a boomer? Well, I'm not a boomer. Thanks, Miss Ann Davenport. Happy holiday indeed. I thought it was a well-played villain. Interesting character, interesting performance. Across the board, just a very well put together movie. So, it turns a lot of tropes kind of on their head without being clever, which is really impressive, Like I'm totally willing to buy into the backstory of the Mysterio guy today. It's consistent with the universe, right? The Marvel universe and backstories of characters and that and stuff. But instead of being jokey about it or left fielding it or something like that, they get clever with it by having him take advantage of that reality to as part of his evil scheme. Very cleverly put together. Very, very well put together. That one is not too formulaic. I agree. Some more are a bit too formulaic. That one did beautifully. The pacing was amazing. And I watching The Last Airbender the other night made me sort of more aware of pacing. They're not all formulaic. That is not remotely what that movie I just watched was. Some movies are, but you get a sense of what formulaic is precisely because of what Spider-Man did that wasn't formulaic, and it was different. And it was interesting, There's this unreliable narrator. No, that's not true, Lawnmower. I've watched a lot of movies, okay? So I will tell you that sometimes they come in clumps of good ones, but I am not. No, I will tell you exactly which movies I've seen that are genuinely stand out as spectacular and worthy of like all praise is doing. Um, Kick Ass was one, and this Spider-Man Far From Home was another one, and they came in rapid succession, sort of. But there was a third one too that I watched recently that was quite amazing. I mean, look, it may be the case that you can critique most Spider-Man movies on the grounds of formulaicness. That might be so. Not this one. Not the one I saw today, um, which was Spider-Man Far From Home. It really it did an excellent job of integrating characters that I knew from another part of the storyline, in ways that were really deftly done. Just across the board, really beautifully done movie. Hi wants his mom, I bet. He wants his mom, I bet. I would be popular because of that, and everything is pretty good for me. I'm grateful to be finally for 3 days because I work in healthcare and it's hectic right now. How are you? Critique. Dialectic evolution. Critique what? What do you want me to critique? Imagine drinking coffee. Let me go up to that top one. Imagine drinking coffee and masturbating as an INTJ. Seems so unhealthy for that type. At the same time, I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever masturbated and drank coffee at the same time. I think I would at least put the coffee down before, otherwise it would like jiggle around. I don't prefer Toby. I was saying that today, in fact, to Rachel. I like this new Spider-Man better than any of the other Spider-Mans. I don't know how many more there have been, but I like this guy. I like him. So I feel the same way about the new James Bond, too. I like the new James Bond better than any of the previous James Bonds. I'm not INTJ. I'm ENTP. Yeah, well, now Toby's too old for Spider-Man role. I get that, but as far as I think Ong struggles with SE to a certain extent, hence his difficulty mastering earthbending with Toph. Right. Well, he had difficulty with both earthbending and firebending because they required willfulness. Me? Dialectic evolution? Are you actually asking me my type? I'm an ENTP. I thought you were kind of joking around. I'm an ENTP. Here we go again. I see an ESTP today. No, I'm not an ESTP. I'm an ENTP. And unlike most people that I encounter, I have never, for 1 second, had any questions about my type. I never went through a phase where I even sort of in my own head was going, but maybe it could be a yeah. Never. It's just like from the first time I encountered MBTI personality types, which was in my early 30s, I immediately identified with the ENTP type descriptions and read them all and thought about it, and it was very obvious to me I was ENTP. Then I sort of set that aside for a number of years because I just encountered the MBTI types and not anything regarding the functions. The cognitive functions weren't really on the internet. In my early 30s, which was, about 20 years ago. So it wasn't until I returned to Once I started a YouTube channel, and I kind of returned to the idea of personality type briefly when I discovered cognitive functions. And once I understood cognitive functions, I still had the same conclusion, just as determinedly, even more so. I was obviously an ENTP. This is the thing. If dialectic evolution, you were coming in here with no knowledge about me at all, honestly, and saying, okay, what type is this guy? You'd be correct in saying you don't have enough data yet to draw any definitive conclusions. And based on what you're seeing from me right now, I'm seeing especially more TI and less NE, probably, right? So that's certainly not an unreasonable conclusion to draw from the data you have currently, ESTP, not unreasonable. However, with not a whole lot of data gathering, in addition to that which you're naturally encountering here, it becomes pretty obvious that if we call me something other than an ENTP, then there's a cascading set of problems that follow, right? Because I'm so textbook an ENTP that if I'm not, all our definitions of everything have to change. Prove yourself, then do a spontaneous slam poem, Eric? Sure. Octavio, let's see. When Quinceanera Golden said to me that I ought to prove myself by making verse, I said, prove what to whom, or he? 'Tis not it better to shut down so terse? Oh no, I think, said she to I, outrage in her ears. I won't allow you any more such poorly reasoned fears. They call me Silva, call me Gold, they call me Spirit Guide. I shan't allow your wildness to cause a wild ride. For all of us who sitting here betwixt the chat and sound will then have fur between our ears and stand on solid ground. There. Perfect. Fine. Genius. Masterpiece. What the heck? It's called improvised metered verse. So the thing about the poetry I just made up on the fly is it's not just random poetry I made up on the fly. It's metrically sound, which means the meter alternates in syllables and it has a certain number of, the meter alternates on syllables and has a certain number of syllables per line. It's not difficult to make up poems if you have no difficulty multipliers like that. You got to have some difficulty multipliers for your freestyling poems, and you want to prove you're an ENTP. Oh, Missy Ann Davenport points out that there's a video of me from when I was a teenager, and I had the same personality then when I was, 17 or whatever. And somebody said, I want to see that video. Okay, I'll get the link for it. Let's see. There it is. Let me get to the part that's me and timestamp it accordingly. Link it with the time thing. Okay, here. Now I'm going to share. I'm going to push share. Yes, start at 43. Copy. Meow that. Come over here. And here you go. 17-year-old Eric answering a question of the Apache News. The Apache News was the very undersupervised closed circuit TV news station that was at my high school that was very undersupervised. Like the shit that was on that news channel, I was like, what the fuck? Why do they let us people say this shit? This guy seems like a teenager in an old man's body. Perhaps I'm an old man in a teenager's body. You thought about that? I have a very young body below the neck, right below here. It's all just like 14 to 18, somewhere in there. I just linked to it right there. The thing that was funny is I had no recollection of being interviewed like that until somebody on Facebook shared with me that video and said, "Oh, hey, are you aware that there's this video that exists of you?" And I had no idea. I still don't remember that thing. I just know it from seeing the video now. But I gotta say, I'm proud of myself. I would give a very similar answer to this day. I'm very proud of myself. I was like, good job, Eric. You did what was T.I. right. But I also should point out dialectic evolution. This is kind of important as well. Your mom's face seems like a teenager in my body. So we should keep that in mind as well. Pretty important. Right? So when people go, personality type doesn't necessarily stay the same your whole life, that's ridiculous. Well, you can say, maybe it doesn't. This isn't contradictory of that, but look at this guy. Right? I'm not supposed to look anywhere than I do right now. Well, at least I basically sound the same or similar, make the same kind of arguments. I also wrote for the high school newspaper. Right. The thing is, that video one time was a most satisfying, a most tranquil moment in argumentation. It was the most tranquil and satisfying moment. All right, let me explain. Somebody was saying to me that the problem with personality types is that once somebody decides what type they are, then they will change to become that. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And I said, okay, here's the deal. I learned about MBTI, even just basic MBTI, anything about these 4-letter things for the first time when I was 30 years old about. So pretty late compared to people nowadays, probably. And I had never even heard about it before. Then years later, I was pointed to this video on Facebook of myself at 17. I don't remember being interviewed for that video. I had no recollection of it actually in my experience. I just know that it happened because I see the video, You tell me that the reason I'm the way I am now is because since I decided I was an ENTP, I changed myself to become more like an ENTP. If that's the case, then why am I exactly the same as that guy when I was 17? And it would just, it wins the point. Hi, Carrot Peeler. Carrot Peeler, what is going on is a good question. And randomly clicking on this video is as good a way to get here as any other. The answer to your important question, what is going on, is a thrilling discussion about matters of great import that are relevant to everybody the entire world over. So we're counting on you to go out and tell 1,000 of your friends about this. If all of us just told 1,000 people, and each of them just told 1,000 people, before long, everyone would know about my channel. Yeah, I'm as ESP as I ever was. Exactly. We're talking about personality type, actually, Karat Peeler. But we talk about whatever around here. There's no. The topic is officially Bootsie Collins plus Jimmy Choo plus Rachel Ray equals what? Ideally, the answer is another celebrity's name. So you could say Rachel Ray plus Jimmy Choo plus Bootsie Collins equals Seal. I think Seal is the best answer to that question. What do you think? It just came to me right now. It's N-I. Eminem? You get Eminem when you mix Bootsie Collins, Jimmy Choo, and Rachel Ray. You know how? How come we know you don't get Eminem? Eminem can't cook. Rachel Ray, she's a good cook. You know who else cooks well? Seal. The guy with the scar on his face. Hey. I thought we weren't going to use any consonant, vowel, consonant words anymore. No keck, no tect, no pet. None of those. Oh, you're an ENTP. Karat Peeler, we want to have an ENTP duel. I'll say, I'm an ENTP, and you go, no, I'm an ENTP. I say, I'm more ENTP than you. And then you say, I'm more ENTP than me. And then we slap fight. Sound fun? Okay, cool. That was my plan anyway. Even if no ENTP showed up, I was going to just, create a straw man to battle against pointlessly. So about typology and stuff. Karat Peeler. You didn't come here you didn't stumble on this probably because you were busy watching videos about Bootsie Collins, Rachel Ray, and Jimmy Choo. Am I right? That's, it shows you what a title will get you. I expect this stream to be flooded with Jimmy Choo fans. What the fuck? EST penis? My penis is ESTP. The rest of me is ENTP. In other words, my penis is meaner than the rest of me, I guess. I don't know what that would mean. No, my penis is the same type as me as the rest of me. All of me, one personality type. Just as it's true that personality doesn't change during the course of your life, it's also true that all parts of your body remain the same personality type. Debate an ENTP female? Boy, talk about rare type. ENTP females are very rare. Oh, you're a female. Oh, wow. Oh, makes sense. Of course. No man would name themselves Carrot Peeler because that's woman's work. Wait, carrots aren't carrots. Okay, dialectic evolution. I bet I do not have a similar cadence to you, or if I do, that you're not an INTJ. INTJs and ENTPs have very different verbal cadences. I know one ENTP girl. She's super goofy, smart, caring, cool. That's a dangerous combination. Adjectives are like prescription drugs. Sometimes they have bad interactions with each other. Right. Well, Carrot Peeler, if you actually are an ENTP female, you are among the rarest of all creatures. You don't see many INTJ females, although we have one around here, but you don't see many INTJ females, and you don't see many ENTP males. Them's the truths. I mean, ENTP females. You don't see very many INTJ females or ENTP females. Now, a little bit less imbalanced, I think, in population, but also imbalanced in population is INFJs. There are more chick INFJs than dude INFJs. I don't know why that is. No, I have no idea of why. Just an observation. I don't even know how accurate it is exactly because it's not a particularly disciplined observation, so to speak. But I'm working on this thing right now that I'll give you guys a little bit of a heads up on it. I do one of these things for each one of the types. So Rachel and I are going to do this video tomorrow where we'll take turns reading the two types. So it's like, okay, FE is the function. And it's summary versus summary of the two FE types. ESFJ, ENFJ, right? So it says and it's built off of the, here, I'll just share it with you. So it's just I'm like, oh, but I'm going to make a video about it tomorrow, so I should save it. And fuck it. It won't impact that tomorrow at all. It doesn't matter. Copy link. So it's built on the instrumental, absolute, and blind countervalued. Since with the same dominant, well, you can look at the document. Here. You had a few drinks with Bootsie Collins after a gig? Wow. He was on the red wine then, huh? Is that going to change our answer? My current answer is Seal, but now I'm leaning more towards Ben Affleck. That's what you get when you add together those three people. Okay, so anyway, when you explain the difference between ESFJ and ENFJ, ESFJ, I'll happily chatter my impressions of what happened while making myself tidy up the room to show you I'm not lazy, oblivious to the fact that it's a Zoom call and you can only see my desk. So that is an expression of basically the instrumentality, the absolute value. In this case, happily chatter says chatter any is the absolute value. The instrumentality is contained in what they chatter, my impressions of what happened. The countervalued, SE, is making myself tidy up the room. The purpose for that is the dominant, to show you that I'm not lazy. And the blind spot, oblivious to the fact that it's a Zoom call and you can only see my desk. So, happily chattering impressions of what happened is an expression of an FE DOM that has an absolute value of any and an instrumental value of SI. And making myself tidy up the room is an example of countervalued SE as framed by, again, the dominant to show you that I'm not lazy, FE. And the obliviousness part is the blind spot, blind to NI. The difference for ENFJ then would be, I will happily begin the course of action I've advised for you, reluctantly offering possibilities as to why your relevant experience represents an unhealthy attachment to your past. Now, granted, this thing is not quite done, so I still have some editing on these things to do. So I'm going to change this a little bit to say, reluctantly offering possible explanations when you don't immediately embrace that your experience So I will happily begin the course of action of advice for you. I've advised for you, reluctantly offering possible explanations when you don't embrace my claim that your relevant experience represents an unhealthy attachment to the past. That conveys those functions there, right? So ESTJ is a little easier. I'll happily chatter my impressions of what I did. I'll happily chatter my impressions of what I reluctantly did to accomplish the goal of getting us all together so that you could listen to me chatter while I ignore your boredom. That's how those functions play out as a sentence, right? SINE 23 NISE 76. ENTJ. I will happily begin the course of action I've advised for you, reluctantly offering alternatives to clarify instructions, reluctantly offering alternatives to my clear instructions while dismissing irrelevant experience as myopic subjectivism. So you can see how what the concept is. ENFP. I will happily figure out how to make my arbitrary vision of reality by reluctantly applying turd polish to my very creative tangle of nonsense. That explains, reluctantly applying turd polish refers to countervalued FE. ENTP. I will happily get attention by communicating defensible words, reluctantly explaining their utility while carelessly making people cry. ESFP. Though irritated by the need to justify myself, I will stubbornly. I will relentlessly ignore what words mean until I stop hearing pushback. Okay, let me start over with this one. ESFP. Though irritated by the need to justify myself, I will relentlessly ignore what words mean until I stop hearing pushback, at which point I'll happily interface with static systems by understanding that you don't know me. You're trying to put people in a box with labels and words are cheap. Okay. ESTP. I can logically defend having kicked the anthill to happily get the ant's attention, but if need be, I'll point out the practical benefits too. For example, the ants learned that hill fussiness is the kind of subjective bias deserving of a kick. INTJ. I will happily cherish my precious, which I attained at suspiciously little cost or effort, while I reluctantly justify my shady ways, oblivious to the concerned and judging faces of those around me. I think that was funny. And then the last one I've done so far, INFJ. Oblivious to the massive efforts you've already invested, I will happily correct you with defensible words about the rightness of my intuition while expressly conveying humility and a begrudging effort to care about your feelings. That's a good one, too. Sometimes, I tell you, Eric, sometimes you make yourself laugh. Yeah. Well, look, here's the thing. It's not so much that I rely too heavily on it. I am well aware of the fact that all of my ideation takes the same basic path, which is I experience something in my life and I go, I wonder if that's something that INFJs do or something that Rachel does. If it parses out, I'll eventually present it as, here's something I know about INFJs, right? You are correct that really the source of this is my experience with Rachel. However, I'm pretty careful about checking to make sure that things I'm attributing to the type validate with my understanding of the type rather than um, require some kind of special pleading. That's really the standard. It's like if I see my dad do something and it to explain it as an ESTJ thing requires me to do some sort of special pleading. Well, it's probably because he was in this circumstance, blah, 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 blah. Then it's almost certainly not an ESTJ thing, but it's a dad thing. If, on the other hand, it's like, for example, easily predictable that he was going to do that. My dad's pretty predictable. And in a way that even if I didn't know him personally, I would predict an ESTJ would do that. Then there's a good chance that that's indicative of ESTJs, not just of my dad, right? But yeah, it's true that to the extent that I misrepresent something about ESTJs, it's almost certainly that I think ESTJs are more like my dad than they as a unit are. And that's probably because my dad's a type 8 ESTJ. I think a lot of ESTJs are. But the point is different Enneagram types can have an immediate affect or an initial affect that can appear at first markedly different, even if when you test it out, there's the like architectural similarities are deeper and much more robust than the surface differences or something like that, right? TE and H just seem to go hand in hand. I know, right? It's funny. It's like when I was growing up, I didn't think about the way, like I didn't really, you never really get the idea that, oh, I've got an angry dad, right? Until later, unless he's somehow abusive or something. My dad was never abusive, and he was very fair. He just used anger when, you know, if he wasn't happy about something, I knew it immediately, you know, in no uncertain terms, right? So when I think back to my childhood now, though, I go, how strange. I'm so unlike my father in so many ways, so different from him. And yet, despite it all, he did a great job. He's an amazing father, you know. I could complain about things that don't validate against kind of sissified new norms. You know, new norms have been pretty sissified. So yeah, like what you said right there, Winston's mom. Choleric temperament, quick to light the fuse, burns out fast. Not super quick to light the fuse, but it seems abrupt to somebody who's looking from the outside in, I guess. He admits when he's wrong about certain kinds of things. He doesn't like to be pinned down on TI problems. That he doesn't really like at all. And he will simply, okay, like that, you know. But if it's some sort of statement, it's an SI thing, he'll definitely admit if he's wrong, or if it's even possible he's wrong, which is so tool functiony of him, you know. Like one time, it was one of the more defeated moments I think I've seen my dad. It was such a minor thing too. I threw away these stadium seat cushions because I asked my dad what to do with them, and he said, "Throw them away." I said, "Okay." And then when I got around to that spot in the room I was cleaning, I threw them away. He didn't remember that conversation, and he came in here and was like, I noticed in the trash can, son, that we got these things here, and it's not a big deal, but ownership, son, ownership." He likes to say shit like that, like don't touch my stuff, basically. And I said, and I immediately went into, mode. You never stop being a kid with your dad, Because I went, but Dad, you said now, and that time he came back afterwards and he said, son, I'm slipping a little bit. I just didn't remember it. And what I got from the gist of the conversation was my hypothesis was wrong. My hypothesis was he hadn't heard me, had pretended to hear me, as he often does, and then blamed me when that goes wrong, right? But he basically indicated to me in that conversation that no, that hypothesis was wrong. He now did remember it, and the problem was that he hadn't remembered that conversation. To him, this was, a sign of like, oh, you got a tumor in your leg or something. Oh, I didn't remember something. I'm slipping. It's also bipolar. There's nothing remotely dementia about my dad. Not one bit. But his SI expectations for himself are so high that any sort of normal forgetfulness, he thinks is like, oh, I can't believe the abjectness of my failure, I was wanting to respond to something Horse Mumbler said earlier. Maybe not earlier in this stream, but earlier today. But I didn't remember. I was going to respond to it until just now, and now I don't remember what it is. I think that ENTP girls are kinky. Not from experience. I've never been with an ENTP girl, but I think they are. You see, this is the thing. Cameron came over and he got some great deals on some weed or whatever, and wonderful, nice, beloved ISTJ that he is. Oh yes, Octavio Silva. That's fucking amazing. How did you do that? You actually got the thing I wanted to respond to. How did you do that? It's the first one. Oh, you said random. I see. I read it right there. That you got it on the first try. That's exactly what I wanted to respond to. Prudent and penultimate. And the response I wanted to make, that's crazy, man. That's great. That's amazing. The response I wanted to make, Horse Mumbler, was specifically that final in the name Smart Final is not used to mean the last in a series. I can't believe that I actually got to say that thing in response to this hours later. Oh, that's funny. It's amazing. That's called It Takes a Village to be one person's SI for Eric. It's kind of a similar thing that happened the other day at the weed store. I was amazed by, but I'll say this is rather more remarkable, really, what you did there. But it's like the weed store has like all chicks work there, right? At bud tenders. Just one person who's a bud tender there is a dude. And I have learned over time that I'm not saying anything about chicks and dudes in general. I'm saying this particular store, he is the best bud tender. And my guess is the only reason they hired him is he's such a good bud tender that they wanted to hire him even though he's a dude. Even though all the other people who work there are like chicks between 18 and 28 in tight clothes, showing off their goodies. But it doesn't matter about their goodies. Given the choice, which I don't ever have, but given the choice, I would always choose that guy to be my bud tender. Anyhow, this is what he did that impressed the living hell out of me. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get 14 grams of that. He poured out a bunch of the tray, and he sort of pushed with his hand aside this much. He picked up the little stems and stuff, pushed a couple more buds there, put the rest of the buds back in the make jar, poured the thing into the thing on the scale, and he eyeballed it within half a gram. Man, it was amazing. It was like, damn, dude, you just eyeballed the fuck out of that half ounce. That's impressive. I know I wouldn't be able to eyeball it that well. Carrot peeler is from England? Hey, listen. The only real possible barrier that can prevent two impassioned humans from making love is if they speak a different language. Good news, email anthrax and carrot peeler. You both speak American talk. Well, horse rumbler, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to defend yourself. I have thrown down the gauntlet. I've indicated to you that the word final and the name Smart and Final is not used to mean the last in a series. Therefore, the analogous name Prudent and Penultimate is it's just not going to fly for me because penultimate necessitates some series. So that's right. I'm bringing it. I saved that from earlier to bring it right here. Now, if you're talking about cheeseburgers, that's a different question. When you go through the Jack in the Box drive-thru, if it's not 24 hours, as long as it's not a 24 hours drive-thru, you can always ask them if you can please have the penultimate cheeseburger. Now, if you don't know Jack in the Box has a product called the Ultimate Cheeseburger. But if you order a penultimate cheeseburger and they understand you properly, they'll insist that you wait until hopefully they can correctly anticipate that there will be one person after you who gets an ultimate cheeseburger. And if they correctly anticipate that, or you could set it up, you go right as they're closing and have somebody behind you, you could buy your penultimate cheeseburger and then they can get their ultimate cheeseburger. And that makes sense. You're going to be practical and not go to England? Okay. I want you to just clear your mind and picture this for me. Okay, email anthrax, maybe this is going to change your mind. I want you to picture carrot peeler. She's sitting in her kitchen. Hello, email anthrax, would you like some tea? That's pretty enticing, right? Picture yourself being serenaded by the lilting sounds of an English accented woman offering you tea and turning every statement into a question. So you flew into Heathrow in London? Took the tube, did you? To my flat? Is it like looking in a sound mirror? Carrot peeler? I think it is. Oh. I mean, no, final can mean binding, as opposed to tentative, I think you could say that. It could mean you could be mispronouncing vinyl. No, final doesn't necessarily have to mean. I mean, you could say the final score. That's not really the last in a series, right? You could say final destination. That would be last in a series. Not to be altered or undone. That's what Smart and Final is claiming. They're smart and they're unalterable. So let's go with prudent and elastic. Prudent and elastic. Prudent and not very elastic, I guess. Prudent and viscous? Smart and no refunds? They just call themselves the Uncrustable store. That's the main thing you got to get at Smart and Final is Uncrustables. Look, I'm just saying that non-tentativity doesn't necessarily include serious finality. I think we can both enjoy that bit of analysis there. I was coaching my kid today in debate. We got in some real fancy word gobbledygook. It was kind of funny because I'm making this argument that's BS in this case, but it's tightly wound BS. So it's what you might call a time suck, but it's a non-abusive time suck, which is to say it's a time suck because it's a bad argument that's hard to understand why it's a bad argument. It's not a time suck because it's a directionality thing. Like if you pretend to be going down this path and then the person puts their time into it and you actually went down this path that you just barely started here, that would be an abusive time suck. That's not what I'm talking about, though. The final score is not the last in a stage in a series of scores. I guess it is. Okay. How about I go, listen, Judy, you are not going to that party, and that's final. Is it still a series related thing? Well, look, Horse Mumbler, remember, this is a whimsical inclination from hours ago. I wasn't sure then I was going to win the argument. I'm less sure now. Maybe. Final. Yeah. I don't think I really have a whole lot of warranting here to stand on. About whether prudent and penultimate is an appropriate corollary for smart and final. My contention being penultimate is too explicitly series based, or ordinal, whereas final. Okay, look, how about this then, Horse Mumbler? Even if we agree that finality means last in a series, penultimate suggests an ordinality that's not necessarily implied by last in a series, which could be last in terms of sequence or in terms of experience, right? Like something could be mad, or it could be numbered, but you go in a different order, Judy, no parties and no refunds. Judy is not going to the party. That is the one takeaway I want everyone to walk away from this live stream knowing, is that there's no way in hell Judy's leaving this house again. Not the way she acted last time. No way. No, sir. I had to bust out both of my catchphrases on her. Deal with it. It's catchphrase number one, and I had to bust out my other catchphrase, which was what was my other catchphrase? Yeah. Good point there, Horseman Moore. It seems sure that our respective nations would go to war over this issue, but I guess it wasn't as contentious a point of disagreement as I had thought. Speaking English in the chat room. If you do, penultimate things will happen. Oh, sure. No problem. I'm even happy to concede defeat. However, I will invent a new meaning for final, render it into common usage, return, and defeat you. I'll have to make a catchy song that says, another meaning of the word final. And I'll say what it is until everybody actually believes it. It'll be my own weirdly self-serving Discordian prank. That unlike the actual Discordians, I won't fuck up the world like they did. That's the power of narrative, right? Those people, those Discordians, they made up the Illuminati. And okay, riddles, huh? Okay, here's a riddle for you. I have 2 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 2 legs in the evening. What am I? The answer is bipedal. A 2-legged chair. There's another possible answer to that riddle. Okay. One time, a shark wanted to rob a bank. He knew there was a camera up in the corner recording him. But he went into the bank and he also saw that there was a security guard that he recognized. Why did he recognize him? Because he used to be on a fishing boat that was called the Sightseer. Turns out the shark was able to rob the bank and get away with all the money. And nobody was able to recognize him on the camera. What happened? What happened? The cameras were broken. They'd been broken for a while. Nobody bothered to fix them. Really easy riddle. It's not a real riddle, okay? It's just me making a joke of the form of a riddle. Okay, a man has died. He's inside a room. It has no doors, no windows, but it has a trapdoor on the floor. Underneath the floor, though, is a metal well that's filled with concrete that's filled with diamonds. Now, when the detective enters, he enters the room through another trapdoor on the ceiling, but that trapdoor can only be opened from the outside. How did the man die? Aneurysm. Well, it was complete organ failure. The aneurysm was the last part of it. It was really tuberculosis gone run amok because, well, no, the walls were made of cheese. He didn't starve. He ate fine. He wasn't able to eat fast enough to escape the room. Did I forget to mention that part? Okay. Landquaman, Airqualady, and Bob all are aficionados of pickles. But when they go to the pickle contest, Bob's already won. Landquaman says, Bob, I don't get it. How did you do it? Airqualady goes, she sees he's got a trapper keeper in his hand. She goes, I know how you did it. And she whispers about, am I right? Bob goes, yep. Okay, so 2 questions. How did he do it? And how did she know? The key is in the trapper keeper. You got to remember, that's the key clue here. Final is when you negatively affect someone's FI, or positively affect or negatively for erotic satisfaction. So it's like carnal plus FI. I love when you final me in the back of my feels, babe. Yeah. There's no such thing as carnal knowledge. That's using the wrong terminology. Carnality is not epistemological. Come on, you guys. We went over this. Carnality. Carnality is just inconsistent with epistemology. I can't believe we're having this fight again. Just put your penis back in your pants, please. God, every week, it seems like in this class, we have this discussion about carnality and people start whipping out their junk. No carnality. Carnal knowledge. Carnal knowledge is a good idea. I don't want to have any carnal knowledge, but I am in the market for carnal knowledge. In my continuing quest to master all that is to be known of the elusive and some say mythical beast, the tunicorn. The tunicorn is sometimes referred to as the Bigfoot of the seas. Half unicorn, half tuna. It said only people who've only had sex 1 time or 2 times can ride them. You know, they won't let virgins ride them, nor will they let sluts ride them. They'll just let inexperienced people who are insecure about sex ride them. It makes them unique among mythical creatures. They decided this is how we tunicorn are going to set ourselves apart. We're going to take the blood types approach. It might seem like you either have it so that you can only put your own blood in you or anyone's blood would work. But no, really, they're blood types. Blood types is proof that someone's fucking with us. You think? If you want proof of a grand conspiracy, blood types. The fact that people have different blood types is proof of a very old conspiracy to make people think that they can't, that they have to find the right kind of blood. A hippopotamus? No. A tunicorn is not a hippopotamus. A tunicorn is half unicorn, half tuna. Okay? And unlike a hippopotamus, the tunicorn exists in the world we might call parabiology. So if you're like me, you know a few things exist that we don't have proof of. You know Bigfoot exists. You know Loch Ness Monster exists. You also know tunicorn exists. If you are up on the most recent parabiology studies and research, you know there are a lot of creatures that we know are out there that we haven't seen proof of. You know, the butter dial. It's half butterfly, half crocodile. And I've spoken to incredibly reliable witnesses who have all told me basically the same thing. It's got wings like a butterfly. It's got those those things that go like this, the little twirly things that come out of it like a butterfly. It's covered in dust like a butterfly, but the rest of it is like a large, angry crocodile, but bipedal. Basically, it looks like a guy in a crocodile suit with the head of a butterfly and the wings of a butterfly and butterfly dust all over him. And if you think that the scientific community will accept, will agree, it's like, I don't care how much evidence, and they don't seem to care how much evidence I pile in front of them that the butter dial exists, they continue to say I'm crazy. We know already that crocodiles, it requires no belief in parapsychology or anything like that to understand that scientists have many documented incidences of crocodiles raping butterflies. Okay, it's as though the two species are drawn to each other. The crocodile represents the flame. The flame here represents rape. And the butterfly represents the moth. Like a moth drawn to flame, so is the butterfly drawn to its crocodile rape. Most of the time, it doesn't produce a reproductively viable offspring. But my hypothesis here is that's how evolution actually works. Evolution is right, but they just got the mechanism wrong. The mechanism is this. Every time two different species hump, there's a very, very small chance that a brand new species will come out. But 99.999% of the time, nothing comes out or a broken thing comes out. But every once in a while, a species that makes sense ecologically, in other words, there's an obvious niche for it, like the butter dial, spontaneously generates a whole population. And we've got a population, I'm estimating about 8,000 individuals in the species in the Florida Everglades is where they live. Butter dials. If you don't believe in butter dials, what's wrong with you? I believe in them. As surely as I believe in tunicorns. I actually do kind of believe in Bigfoot. Who here believes in Bigfoot? I kind of believe in him. I kind of think there might be Bigfoots. I mean, granted, I've watched some pro Bigfoot propaganda recently. So, I haven't really examined. The thing is, there's a lot of shit that it seems like there's a lot of explaining away going. My last wife was a Bigfoot? Is that why she was like that? The U.S. Navy are looking into Bigfoot? I mean, why the Navy? Bigfoot is not a seagoing creature. Right? or are they positing a subspecies of marine Bigfoot? Oh, yeah, this is a marine Bigfeet. They're a little bit different. Basically the same, except marine Bigfeet have bonus gills. Well, Oliver Lynan, let me tell you, the twos and the twos are really coming together right now and making fours. Because I've been convinced for a while the tunicorn are hiding a secret population of something under the waves. Bing! Connection. That's where the big feet are. They're being kept as herd animals under the sea by the tunicorn, who probably intimidate them with their razor-sharp horns. instead of going around with a big thing of pepper or Parmesan cheese in the restaurant, I want the waiters to have a squirt bottle of meat moistener. And as they approach your table, squirt of meat moistener? What is it? Water. That is a good way to moisten your meat. Wait, you just filled that squirt bottle with water. Honest advertising. It's a meat moistener. Bernaise sauce. A strip club is a meat moistener? So for our catalyst today, we're going to use a meat moistening agent. Who brought some meat to moisten? And who's brought the meat moistener? Moises? Was it you? We had too much seasoning salt. Too much seasoning salt, indeed. If someone is good at noticing details but bad at connecting them and placing them in a broader theories, that is a sign of bottom stack NI. I mean, I would say that's more of an anything. NI is less about fitting things into sets like that, or frames. It's more about realizing the set from the unset defined elements. You know, I think Eileen might be an IHP, but I don't really know. She's one of the two. Moises the meat moistening monarch. I like that. That's a good superhero. Moises, monarch of meat moistening. Moises the meat moistening monarch. There aren't enough Moises in the world. I always think about Moises Alou, the baseball player. That's just one Moises. That's what I have to say. It's pretty important. Also, not on my watch. Deal with it. Those are important things to say. I want to play this song, mostly because I want to listen to it. A little bit loud. Better was kind of thinking detectives in the parks. Better was kind of thinking detectives in the parks. Once there was a girl named Jenny Sue, a teenage girl a lot like you. She lived in Florida, played some softball prematurely, had her last call. The day was clear and the sky was blue, so you don't need to fear what killed Jenny Sue, because she came to the plate and she swung the bat and everybody heard a great big crack. Thunder. Right. When sight returned to their eyes, they could only see a pair of charcoal eyes. Benny's mom was shocked, of course, and sad. In fact, her life seemed mostly bad. She had loved her kid and kept her safe, and then all at once the kid had met her fate. And Mom was outraged. Mom was mad. Mom sought help from her brother Brad. The silver swine, one named, eyes begin to shine. Someone to blame. Better was kind of thinking. The better was kind of thinking. Jack is in the heart of the better was kind of thinking. Jack is in the parts. The better was kind of thinking. Jack is in the parts. Okay, so in that dream I had where the guy was sodomizing me with a cigar, and then at the end a bunch of stuff shot out of the cigar, and I got pregnant. Was that a cigar in that dream, or was it representative of something else? I can never tell. Cigars appear in my dreams constantly. It's a constant barrage of cigars. Usually the first dream of the night, I fall asleep and I sort of wake up in dreamland. I'm smoking a cigar. I got one in an ashtray. I got one in an ashtray over here. There's a lady who's got a tray of cigars, selling cigars in front of me. And I'm sitting, of course, in a cigar room with a humidor full of cigars behind me. So it's hard for me to tell which of them are cigars. Of course, it's pretty easy when I blink, I look around, and all of a sudden I'm surrounded by penises. Then I realize, oh wait, those cigars were penises. That's how you can tell. Usually the cigars that are penises will turn into penises at some point in the dream. Also, to the extent that cigars are just cigars, they're going to more often appear horizontally, okay? This is more likely to be a cigar than this. This is more likely to be a penis. Simple rule, not guaranteed, not 100% a heuristic, but worth trying out. Midnight Blues toxicity? Oh, hold on. Let's not start accusing people of being toxic. What did Midnight Blues say or do that caused you to say that? I will wreak my righteous wrath upon you, lawnmower. I don't see any justification for that shit at all. If you're referencing a previous occasion, that's not going to fly. You don't give me, just chill out for a second, Midnight Blue. I'm not, I am disturbed to be taken away from this important discussion about the psychology of the cigar by lawnmowers apparently out of nowhere meowing. Well, don't just mess with, okay? Who wants to be messed with? I don't like to be messed with. Well, look, whatever your experiences in the past, you don't get to say, like, well, this is because something they did last time. They got to do it this time, or else you're just, holding them accountable for shit that should be let go. Or it's not on this flow. It's like trying to apply previous debate round to this debate round or something. All right. Well, regardless, look, there was nothing but positive feelings around here until there was a certain jumping of the gun regarding the arrival of a certain late night Azul. Lawnmower. I don't think it was all in good intentions, but that's fine. We'll let it slide. I know it's not me, Midnight Blue. I'm not worried about it being me. I'm so much nicer than I used to be. Sometimes still I'm a dick, but usually somebody's got to really be fairly provocative for me to get super dickish. I am serious. Or you're talking to him? Oh, you're talking a lot more. My bad. I'm way less of a dick than I was when you started watching this channel. Yeah, I've become a better person, you know. Certainly, it is the case that in my Kimberly relationship, you know, restraining myself took all of my goodness, basically. Coping with that which ought not have been coped with took all of my goodness. And I would lash out at people who totally didn't deserve it, you know. When I was with Kimberly, I'd periodically sort of yell at my mom or lash out at my mom. It was always when I was trying to take care of my mom and Kimberly was adding additional burdens to the thing by being difficult concurrently, you know? And then I said to her, hey, not on my watch. Deal with it. That's all it took. You know, that's all it takes. A couple of catchphrases, a stern look, a pointy finger. That's all it takes. Oh, that's right. And occasional sleep. I'm going to have to wrap this one up. I have work tomorrow at 10 in the morning. I'm going to quickly answer Oliver's question, who asks, is having the ability to keep a shitload of words in your head and have intense conversations with yourself, but only be able to keep very dull images in your head correlate to anything cognition related? Yeah, I would say that it's an indication of your knowledge functions being optimized for a low resolution work rather than high resolution work. Low resolution work being conditional, abstract, binary, definitional, and high resolution work being particularized, experiential, etc. So people whose stack is a configurable approach to experience, then their knowledge functions are gonna be placed and relate in such a fashion as to prioritize retaining different kind of data. So, Cloud, honestly, in case you're feeling like hurt feelings or something about it might leave absolutely nothing to do with you. So it's not me not wanting to talk to you or whatever. It's just I'm totally exhausted. Kind of hit me all of a sudden. I'm gonna go take a bath, crash out. I need at least 6 hours or something, and I got to work at 10 in the morning. It's midnight. I could use 8 hours even, maybe. So, well, I'm sorry that you've experienced stimuli in the world that has caused you to retreat. Is the most neutral way I could possibly say that, you know. Midnight Blue, and you're welcome here. And we try to be nice. And sometimes people aren't very nice. And sometimes people go, okay, I'm out of here. It's gotten too nasty around here. That's happened on a few occasions. It makes me try to make an effort to police the chat a little bit more. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're both honestly trying to be fair, not just trying to win the fairness argument, and are genuinely welcoming and inclusive. And, you know, I think everybody here has at some point come to this community and said, I need to talk something out or whatever, and has walked away with plenty of things to choose from. You know, it's not like you're going to get any singular vision on things around here. If you come here going, I need to talk this out, you will get advice whether you're seeking it or not if you're talking about it, right? So it's kind of nice. It's like attention is paid to your concerns. May not be the kind of attention you want to be paid to them, but but regardless, there's a pretty consistent, genuine, like well-intentionedness. Okay, so anyway, that's a lot of talking about a little stuff. I got to go to bed. Good night. Good night. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Right. And I appreciate that it's late at night and I've got to go to bed right now.